Derek Carr retired and will not play for the New Orleans Saints this coming season, or anybody for this coming season. His football career in the rearview mirror. And to me, my immediate reaction was awesome for the Saints. Like, there is a part of me that feels for Derek Carr with the injury and the health and probably wants to continue playing, but just not in his best interest. And there's a human side to that, certainly, that you got to put down the thing that you've loved forever and ever, and that's a tough thing for a lot of professional athletes. But if we're just covering the Saints, we're talking about the New Orleans Saints. This prevents the worst case scenario. Because the worst case scenario for the New Orleans Saints is they try to come back to relevance in the NFL would be for Derek Carr to play quarterback for the Saints this year and the Saints go 6-12. Like that's the worst case scenario. You don't find anything out about Tyler Shook or Spencer Rattler. You don't completely torpedo the season to get a better draft pick next year. You just play out the string with an aging, mediocre quarterback bringing no intrigue and no information to the future of the franchise. Like, that was the worst case scenario. Because it prevents you from seeing your path forward. There was never a path forward with Derek Carr. Like, that was never going to result in the next great Saints team. Ever. So you have to avoid that situation. Now the Saints have. So there are two things that are possible in this upcoming season. One of Tyler Shook and Spencer Rattler becomes the starting quarterback and does a really nice job and is a building block moving forward toward the next great Saints team. Or one of Tyler Shook or Spencer Rattler plays and it goes really poorly and you win 3 games and you're at the top of the draft next year to take another quarterback. Both of those are quality situations for the Saints to be in moving forward. The one thing you could not have is those two guys sitting on the bench wondering what if, having Derek Carr go out there and play the 20th best quarterback in the NFL and not compete for a championship and not learn about your young quarterbacks and run out the string on this awful contract, which is inhibiting you from moving forward. Well, that fear is gone, and that's the best news for the New Orleans Saints over the weekend. Now, as far as Derek Carr goes, this whole thing has been weird. It's been weird, and I've been very candid in my assessment of it in suggesting, like, I don't have all the information. I don't know what conversations were had, what the doctor said, what Derek Carr feels like. I don't know what the Saints think about the way that Derek Carr has handled things. Now, we got one piece of information over the weekend that was particularly interesting, is that Derek Carr had never met with Kellen Moore face-to-face. That is unacceptable. Unacceptable. Kellen Moore has been the head coach of the Saints since February. It's the middle of May, and the starting quarterback, perceived starting quarterback, has not talked to the head coach. Unfathomable that would be the case. And that suggests to me that he's not handling that very well. I think it was odd that this injury thing cropped up, and then the one comment we got from the starting quarterback of the franchise was in a church service. That's weird. Feels like poor public relations. The timing of that ridiculous YouTube Carr video that nobody cares about was weird. The quiet nature of how the injury was being handled was weird. And that's why, while I suggested, like, I don't have all the information, I don't know, it felt like from the outside, from the information that I did have, that a divorce needed to happen. Now, if Derek Carr is being pushed out of the NFL purely because his shoulder's toast, like, I do feel for him in that way because he clearly can still play a little bit. He's not great. He's a mediocre player. And you generally would like to go out on your own terms, and it doesn't appear like that's going to happen. So again, I do feel for him in a way. But everything was handled weirdly. The entire thing just reeked of miscommunication and bad vibes, and it's now finally over. It did not work. Dennis Allen felt like he had one shot to save his coaching career as an NFL head coach. He will never get another opportunity to do that. And he decided that the button he wanted to push was to go get Derek Carr. And my assumption is that if you asked Dennis Allen, he would look you straight in the face, candid as could be, honest as could be, and say, if he doesn't get hurt, we'd be a playoff team. It was the right thing to do. When all of us are sitting on the outside going, that was never going to work. He was a mediocre player in Oakland. He was a mediocre player in New Orleans. And when he was on the field, the Saints were a mediocre team that was getting worse. And they may be a lot worse this year without him playing quarterback, but that's okay if it nets better draft position and a better direction moving forward. And maybe, now that he's cleared the way, Tyler Shook becomes the dude. And you've got a quarterback who is starting on a rookie contract that you can build around, who doesn't make a bajillion dollars like Derek Carr did, and put the franchise in a ridiculous spot as far as the salary cap goes. Now, there was a lot of salary cap discussion surrounding Derek Carr, and the number $30 million was being tossed around, and then, well, maybe it's just his base salary, which is just over $1 million, or maybe there's a proration deal where it's $6 million. Fact of the matter is that I don't really care about the Saints salary cap this year in 2025. You've basically got your roster already, so you're not trying to add anything to your roster. So I don't care about the 2025 salary cap. I care about the 2026, 27 salary caps, which did get some relief from Derek Carr. And in 2027, you ought to be wide open. You should have a lot of money laying around in 2027. And I realize it's a long way off and not the most fun thing to talk about, but it's a significant development from this with Derek Carr, because with the second restructure that you made, you just extended this thing further into misery. And you were always going to carry some dead money there, but Carr's going to get you off the hook a little bit more quickly, first in 2026 and then for sure in 2027. So things are starting to clear up as far as the Saints' path back to relevance. They're starting to clear up. There's still a long journey here. You've got a rookie quarterback, first-year head coach, and then an aging roster and a bad salary cap around them. But as you continue to hit some of these checkpoints, and Derek Carr was one of them, getting him 1 off the field and then 2 off the books, those 2 things had to happen. One of them has, and the other one is closer today than it was on Friday. Now you have to find the next really good quarterback. Maybe it's Shook, lesser chance it's Rattler, maybe it's a guy that you take at the top of the draft next year. But as long as Derek Carr was sitting there providing a roadblock that was really expensive, by the way, you were never going to get any answers. So the worst case scenario for New Orleans is now off the table. Now it's about finding that guy. And there are a lot of franchises that are in that boat, and we know how hard it's going to be to find them. Dennis Allen hitched his wagon to Derek Carr, and now that wagon's in Chicago calling the defense. So, big development. I think a positive development for the Saints. I don't have really anything else more disparaging to say about Derek Carr other than the whole thing was really weird, but it's in the rearview mirror. Now you move forward, trying to find the next quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. Hopefully, that's Tyler Shook. Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.